Hello my friends, my name is Mina. Welcome to my channel Mina Reads, and today I'm going to be bringing you 12 book recommendations that are under 300 pages to help you reach your reading goal this year. Alright y'all, I was inspired to make this video because I am severely behind on my own reading goal. I'm like 10 books behind. It's been a little bit of a rough year, but I want to save you guys from the kind of trouble that I'm finding myself in, and I'm going to give you some short book recs. These books are really entertaining, there's substance, there's great characters, but all packed into under 300 pages, so you could get through them pretty quickly. Also, just a disclaimer, because I know that people really like to tussle over this, you don't have to read a certain number of books to be a reader, to be a respected reader, to be a valid reader. Read however many books you want, but some people like to challenge themselves, they like to set goals, and if you're someone who is struggling to reach your goal, this video is for you, okay? Alright, so the first book that I have for you is Slippery Creatures by KJ Charles. Now this is a suspense romance novel, kind of. It is about this character named Will Darling. This is a historical novel as well, so it's set after World War I. Will Darling is a veteran. He's just come home from the war recently, and he finds out that he has inherited this bookshop from his late uncle, so he takes on the bookshop, and he also takes on this mystery that is associated with the bookshop because there are some unsavory characters who believe that he is hiding some important intelligence to the war within the bookstore. And his life gets even more complicated when he meets this guy named Kim Secretan. And so this is a queer historical suspense novel. It is a part of a series, but this first book is really short, really engaging. I love Will Darling, one of my favorite characters. He's so charismatic and principled, and I loved him so much. So yeah, I think if you're someone that enjoys suspense, but you also like romance and like complex characters with complex relationships, you need to get on this series. Then, speaking of complex relationships, we have Dowy of Blood by S.T. Gibson, one of my favorite vampire novels of all time. It is very, very small, very short, very compact, but one of the most beautiful emotional reading experiences I have ever had. This is a retelling of Dracula, sort of kinda. It is about the brides of Dracula. It's told particularly through the lens of a character named Constanta. And she is the first bride that Dracula makes for himself, and this is about her life with him and the abuse that she and her fellow spouses suffer under his care. And it's about that really complicated relationship and some of the like beautiful moments that they've had, the seductive nature of him, but also the violence. It's so sad but so good, and the relationship between Constanta and the other spouses in this book is everything. I just need more people to read it, okay? I need more people to read it. It definitely had a lot of hype when it first came out, but I don't want the hype to die down. I need more people to be reading it. It's just incredible, okay? Alright, up next we have Waph by Rebecca Weatherspoon. This is a romance novel, and it's only about 260 or so pages, I think, but this follows a doctor named Sloane, and she is currently a single mom. She recently had like a nasty divorce, and she is, like I said, a doctor, so she works really long hours. She needs some help with childcare. She ends up hiring this nanny who is this like hot redheaded biker dude, and this is like a really sweet like nanny ex-single parent romance. Waph is so hot. I love him. We stan. The relationship between Waph and Sloane is so like amazing and hot and steamy and supportive, but then also like the dynamic between him as the nanny to her two young daughters is just so sweet. Like the twins are so adorable in this, so I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for something short, sweet, fun, and spicy. Check it out. Then, if you're looking for a short fantasy romance, I will always come back to my tried and true recommendation of Radiance by Grace Draven. This is about two people, Russian and Ildiko, from warring kingdoms, and their marriage is a political one to help like solidify this new alliance between their nation. And so they end up meeting, and this is such an interesting like romance because they're really not attracted to each other at the start of the book, and I think that's something that is like usually really important to most romances, is that there's this like immediate attraction. So it's interesting to see how their relationship develops because there's not immediate attraction, because like he's a monster and stuff. I just loved, like, I just think it's one of the most fascinating relationship dynamics, and their vibe together is just so good, and the way that their feelings for each other evolve is fantastic. But all of that development is done in a very short page count, and it's done exceptionally well. I just love them. They're an amazing couple. Highly recommend this series. Will always recommend it. It's so good. So up next we have The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, one of my favorite books of all time. This is a historical fantasy novel. It's about this girl named Nina who is a telekinetic, and she is recently starting her debut into society. She ends up meeting this guy named Hector who is a telekinetic like herself, and she is immediately enamored with him, and this is about their budding relationship. But the only problem is that Hector was previously in love with her sister-in-law, and so there's a lot going on. It's very messy, it's very dramatic, it's very beautiful, and I loved it. I loved it. If you love drama and mess, you will love this book. So I highly recommend checking it out. Then we have Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. This is really short. This might even be under 200 pages, I think. Yeah, it's only like 130 or so pages, but it is very good, and it is another historical fantasy novel. I believe it's set in like the 1920s or 1930s. This is a sapphic book about a private detective who gets embroiled in this conflict between angels and demons, and it's about her and her girlfriend trying to navigate that whole mess. It's very fun, it's very engaging, very beautiful. Highly recommend it if you're looking for something fun and sapphic to read. Speaking of fun and sapphic, This Is How You Lose the Time War. You really cannot go wrong reading this book. It is just so interesting. It's so evocative. It's so confusing, but in a good way, in the best way. It's like, it's one of those reading experiences where you're kind of like, okay, what's going on? I'm not really sure. But when it all becomes clear, it's like the best experience of your life, and it's so emotionally moving, and I just love this book so much. Like, red and blue, they changed my brain chemistry, and this is incredible. So if you're looking for something sapphic, something sci-fi, something very like futuristic, maybe a little bit confusing in terms of the technology that is used, like, read this. It's very cool. It's a life-changing reading experience. I'm not joking, so check it out. Okay, then we have another historical fantasy romance. This one is called Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is about a girl who has her soul basically cut in half by this fae. He like tried to steal her soul from her, and so as a result of that, she has a hard time like expressing her emotions, so she's very monotone, and this kind of makes her a little bit of an oddball in the society that she's in. And she ends up meeting this guy who is the royal sorcerer, and his name is Elias, and so this is about their kind of like hate to love relationship, and also about uncovering like this magical illness that is sweeping the nation and trying to figure out what is causing it. So yeah, it's so good. The romance is good. It's very sweet, very funny, very swoon worthy. I love the main characters, Dora and Elias, in this. Like, their relationship is just so sweet, and I think about them all the time, and I would highly recommend it. Like, it's so good. This is also a part of a series, and all of the follow-ups are just as short, so if you're looking for something that would be a really quick binge, I would recommend the Regency Fairy Tale series, but the first book is definitely my favorite out of the trio. Then we've got Fresh Water by Akwaeke Emezi. This book is very emotional and could potentially be really triggering. The character goes through so much. It does not shy away from the details of these experiences that the character has, and this is a story about a character named Ada who hears voices, and there are like other, I want to say that there are like these spirits that are communicating with her constantly, and the self-destructive things that she does as a result of the advice that they give her. And it is one of the most interesting books I've ever read in my entire life. It's really short, but so impactful and powerful and moving, and I just absolutely adored it. So like I said, please be careful. Go into it with your eyes wide open. It is a like very stressful reading experience, but one of the best books I've read ever, and definitely my favorite by Akwaeke Emezi, so I highly recommend it. Alright, then we have Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a short story collection, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. All of the stories are really interesting, but the first story, The Husband Stitch, has like changed my life, and it was so good. All of the stories are amazing, but in this moment I'm thinking about The Husband Stitch, and I'm thinking about the experience of reading it for the first time, and I want other people to experience that. So definitely check out this short story collection. It's full of a lot of amazing, like speculative, mysterious, sort of creepy, eerie short stories, but the first one changed lives. my life in particular. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. Right. Then we have Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson, and this is about two Black British college students meeting and falling in love, and this is their love story. It's not entirely about their love story, but it is about their relationship and how they're navigating their early 20s. Like, the writing in this is absolutely gorgeous, and I think that it speaks to the Black experience in a really interesting way, and I definitely can't wait to read more by this author in the future. So I would highly recommend checking this book out if you have not already, and it is very, very slim but very impactful. Get into it. The final book I'm going to recommend you is nonfiction. It's The Anthros Scene Reviewed by John Green. There are essays in here about like Dr. Pepper. There's essays in here about meningitis and about mountain goats and about hot dog stands in New York. Like, it's about a lot of different sort of random stuff, but I feel like John Green's curiosity towards the world, like his curious, emotionally open outlook on life, is so interesting. So you want to read something that is a little bit off kilter, but something that'll make you think and something that will make you feel a little bit hopeful about the world and finding the beauty and all of the small things in life, I think you should definitely check this out. It's really good, and it is really short and a quick read. I would definitely recommend checking it out on audiobook if you could, because it is narrated by John Green. I feel like he does a good job of like helping you navigate like the tone and keeping things interesting. So I would recommend checking out the audiobook if you could, but it's good. It's good. These are my book recs to help you get through your reading goal. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you will check some of them out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, you guys. Mwah.